You're not trapped in your life. You're trapped in a version of reality you've been trained to see, shaped by old emotions, limiting beliefs and stale energy. The world around you isn't reflecting your desires. It's echoing the frequency of what you keep affirming through your inner state. That's the glitch. Most people try to create change, manifest love, wealth, purpose, but they do it while holding on to the same emotional identity that built their past. They're trying to launch a rocket with no fuel, using words and intentions while their inner frequency still screams doubt, fear, and lack. The universe doesn't speak language. It speaks vibration, and it doesn't listen to what you say. It listens to the self behind your words. So the real transformation doesn't begin when you speak your goals. It begins when you shift the observer, when you stop identifying with the self who was sculpted by trauma, disappointment, and survival, and begin tuning into the self who already lives the reality you crave. That's the actual quantum leap. In the quantum field, you're not bound to a single path, one life unfolding in a predictable, linear timeline. Every version of you, the bold, the broken, the successful, the lost, already exists in parallel, playing out across infinite probabilities. And every thought you think, every emotion you radiate, every choice you make, it all acts like a code, a passkey. When your internal state matches the signature of that higher version of you, reality doesn't just shift metaphorically, it shifts energetically. This isn't science fiction, it's the essence of quantum alignment. In physics, particles exist in many possible states until they're observed. Reality is not fixed, it collapses into form when consciousness interacts with it. Your life isn't something that's happening to you, it's something you're collapsing into form with every breath, every belief, every state of being. The identity you wear becomes the anchor for the life you live. But here's the twist. You can't leap into a new timeline while clinging to the frequency of the old you, the one who doubts, delays, or disqualifies themselves. You can't embody abundance while emotionally rehearsing lack. You can't feel whole while silently declaring you're broken. You don't quantum jump through willpower. You jump through identity, through alignment, through becoming the version of you who doesn't wait anymore because they already are. And if something stirred inside you just now, if a quiet part of you whispered, "This is me," then your field already felt the shift. Your future is already responding because the field listens not to your words, but to your energy. So, let's go deeper. Strip away the mysticism. Quantum jumping isn't a flash of light or a sci-fi teleportation sequence. The real portal isn't out there, it's in you. The jump doesn't happen in space, it happens in your state. It's the internal shift from being someone who's trying to manifest to being someone who already has. The reality you want isn't far away. It's already coded into the field. The only thing separating you from it is alignment. Let's root this in real quantum theory. According to the many worlds interpretation, every choice you make splits reality into parallel versions. One where you stayed, one where you left, one where you gave up, and one where you broke through. All of these yous are real, coexisting as potential timelines. You're not climbing some spiritual ladder to reach them. You're tuning your frequency like a radio. The station is already playing. You just have to stop playing static. The jump is the pivot point. The moment you stop thinking, reacting, and feeling like the self who's waiting to be chosen, loved, or saved, and start moving as the one who already is. That change in vibration, that decision to fully identify with your higher timeline, that is the quantum leap. That is the collapse. That is the moment reality changes, because you did. And the most radical part? It was never about becoming someone else. It was about remembering who you've always been. The external world doesn't need to change first. You do, And when that happens, the world adjusts itself around your shift like clockwork. New faces appear, new doors open, and the limitations that once seemed immovable suddenly dissolve. This isn't magic, it's resonance. You've become a vibrational match to a reality that was always there, waiting for you to catch up. You didn't force it into existence. You aligned with it. You didn't build the path. You stepped onto it. Identity is the gatekeeper. If you try to manifest a new life while clinging to the same beliefs, wounds, and habits that shaped your old one, you're dragging that outdated frequency with you into every intention. It's like trying to play a new song on a scratched record. You'll keep hearing the same skips. Quantum jumping isn't about effort. It's about identity. Not by faking it, not by forcing positivity, but by peeling back the layers of fear, scarcity, and conditioning to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Because here's the deeper truth. The version of you who already lives, that life isn't in the future. They exist right now in a different layer of now, and you don't reach them through hustle, you reach them through vibration, presence, and radical self-awareness. Pause. Breathe. If something just unlocked in you, if you felt the faint but undeniable pull of that truth, then you're already tuning in. Declare it. I'm aligning with the version of me who already lives it. Say it like it's not a wish but a command. Let your energy be the signal. Let the field hear your decision. Now, let's open the map. What if the life you're living is just one station among infinite frequencies? What if the change you crave isn't far away, but already here, just inaccessible because you're tuned into the wrong bandwidth? This isn't spiritual fluff, this is timeline mechanics. And once you understand how the quantum field responds to who you are, rather than what you want, you'll stop waiting for your future, you'll merge with it. First, unlearn everything. Time isn't a straight line from birth to death. Quantum physics suggests time is non-linear, a vast web of potentialities all existing simultaneously. Every version of you is already alive in this web, waiting to be activated. And the only thing that activates a timeline is your attention, your emotion, your identity, each thought, each feeling, each belief. It's all a code, a key. And whichever frequency you lock into determines the version of reality that becomes real. For you, imagine your life is a vinyl record. Your current reality is just one track, one groove. It feels consistent because you keep replaying the same beliefs, making the same choices, reacting in the same ways. But the moment you shift your vibration, you lift the needle. Same player, new track, entirely different song. The people, outcomes and breakthroughs on that new track, they were always there. They just weren't available from your old state. Let's ground this further. In quantum experiments, a particle exists in many states until it is observed. Your consciousness, the observer, collapses the wave. You choose the form reality takes. Focus on fear, lack, and limitation. You collapse a timeline where those experiences dominate, shift into trust, gratitude, and embodied knowing. You collapse the timeline where peace and abundance are already real. You don't call the timeline to you, you attune to it. You become the observer of a different version of life, and the field reshapes itself to match. The outside shifts because the inside shifted first. Here's the part most people miss. You don't need to grind your way into a better life. You need to stop energetically clinging to your old one. Every time you react from the past, recite your wounds or wait for something external to give you permission. You re-anchor yourself in the timeline you're trying to escape. Not because it's your destiny, but because it's familiar, because your energy is still wired for it. But the instant you make a new choice, not just in thought, but in being, you begin to shift. When you respond as if peace is already yours, when you receive as if the abundance is already flowing, when you walk like someone who already knows their worth, The field reorganizes around that signal, and suddenly life stops being a struggle. It becomes an echo, a reflection. You are no longer drifting through reality on autopilot. You're selecting it with intention. That is quantum mastery. And if something just clicked, not in your mind, but in your soul, then let it land. I choose my timeline with my frequency. Because you do, every day, with every thought, with every breath. And now, you know how. You can't keep trying to escape your life, hoping that something out there will finally click. At some point, you have to tune in to the version of life that already resonates with your deeper truth, the one hidden underneath the noise and habits of survival. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about the one thing that keeps most people stuck in a loop, even after doing all the right things: identity. It's not effort. It's not mindset. It's not belief. It's who you think you are. You've meditated. You've affirmed. You've spotted synchronicities. You've aligned your chakras, visualized your dream house on a vision board with gold foil stickers. But you're still caught in the same emotional gravity. Same results, same heartbreak, dressed in different faces. Same anxious anticipation, like you're always about to arrive, but never quite do. Why? Because you're trying to rewrite the movie without recasting the actor. You're trying to step into a new story while dragging along the same emotional script. See, manifestation doesn't fail because the universe is cruel or because your technique was wrong. It fails because you're trying to pull miracles into a reality built by the version of you who still doesn't believe you deserve them. You're still vibrating at the frequency of scarcity, of fear, of maybe one day. And the quantum field doesn't answer your words, it answers your signal. Your current life? It's not random, it's a mirror showing you who you really believe you are. Not who you say you are, not the persona you project online, but the subconscious identity you act from when no one's watching. If you wake up each day feeling behind, needing to prove you're enough, gripping everything in fear of losing it, then even your boldest dreams will collapse into versions of the past, because your nervous system is still calibrated to survive, not thrive. Here's the dangerous trap. People do spiritual practices with a scarcity mindset. They meditate from a place of emptiness. They visualize from longing. They write down intentions, but underneath it all is the aching whisper. I still don't have it. And the quantum field, it's not sentimental. It doesn't bend for your rituals. It bends to your frequency. If your emotional baseline says, I'm still not there, then you'll keep attracting experiences that prove you're not. This is why the idea of being before becoming is so radical and so essential. When you start behaving like your future self now, you collapse the gap between here and there. Because every identity operates with its own emotional signature, its own breathing rhythm, its own way of moving through the world. These aren't subtle differences. They're codes, frequency keys. And they either match your dream timeline or they don't. So how do you escape the loop? Not by hustling, not by forcing more mantras into your morning routine. You do it by making a conscious decision, moment by moment, to stop identifying with the version of you who created this current timeline. You say, I no longer operate in guilt. I no longer define myself by pain. I'm no longer available for struggle as an identity. You don't reject your past. You bless it. But then you stop recycling it through your thoughts, actions, and emotions. If this speaks to you, if you're tired of spiritual performance and ready for actual transformation, say it, even silently. I release the version of me who created this reality. This isn't abandonment, it's alchemy, because the you that got you here is not the you who can take you there. So now let's take the leap, not by wishing, but by becoming. We'll step into identity activation, not as a ritual, but as a full-body declaration. You've seen the loop, you've felt the friction. You know by now it's not about effort, it's about energy. You don't need to work harder. you need to shift who you are and the path. It begins with one irreversible choice. I decide who I am now. Then you act from that place. That's quantum jumping. That's how timelines bend. Identity isn't something you step into later, when conditions are right or when the results show up. It's something you embody now. Right here. Right in the midst of the chaos, the doubt, the silence. Let's walk through this together. An identity activation practice that isn't just words, but a frequency reset. A shift from the self who survives to the self who creates. Step 1. Choose your timeline. Close your eyes if you can. Let everything around you go soft. Picture the version of you who's already living your dream life. Not someday, now. What does their morning look like? What do they know when they wake up? How do they walk into a room? What do they no longer tolerate? What thoughts don't even cross their mind anymore? This version of you doesn't hope for it, they live it. Now, name this identity. Not just a label, but a declaration. The unshakable me, the peaceful magnet, the bold architect. Choose a name that sends a charge through your spine, one that feels like a homecoming. Let this identity be realer than the doubt, more rooted than the story you've been rehearsing. Step 2. Embody their energy. Stand up. Shake off the weight of who you've been, literally. Move your body like you're rinsing off static. Exhale. Let go. Now adjust your posture. Shoulders back, jaw unclenched. How does this version of you breathe? What emotions no longer exist in their nervous system? How do they move through discomfort? What is effortless for them? Don't overthink it. Just shift 10%. That's enough to collapse timelines. Step 3. Declare and reinforce. The quantum field listens, not to your effort, but to your clarity. So speak it aloud. I am now living as the version of me who... Complete the sentence. Say it to your cells, to your future, to the invisible web that's listening, because this isn't just affirmation, it's an energetic reprogramming, a command sent to your subconscious. And here's the rule. You don't wait for proof. The moment you ask, is it working? You've jumped back into the old self, into doubt, into delay. Don't search for evidence. Be the evidence. Step 4. Live without looking back. Every single moment is a crossroads. Every time you feel yourself slipping into the old identity, you pause, you reset, you activate. Quantum jumping is not one Hollywood-style leap. It's thousands of micro-decisions. That's not me anymore. That's not my voice. That's not my frequency. Each one, a tiny rebellion against the version of you that was addicted to waiting. If you're feeling this, deeply say it. Inside yourself, I choose to live as my highest self now. This isn't for show. It's not a caption. This is your new signal, broadcasting into the field. Step 5. Close with presence. Now just pause, breathe. Notice the shift, not as fantasy, but as fact. The subtle ease in your chest, the stillness in your gut. That's not nothing. That's not a placebo, that's physics. You didn't just learn something, you became someone. This is the truth most people miss. When you stop seeking, you start receiving. When you stop chasing timelines, you start commanding them. You're no longer begging time for miracles. You are bending time with your resonance. You're not a seeker. You're a selector, not a beggar. A beacon, not a prisoner of circumstances, but a traveler between timelines. You're no longer trying to become. You are being. And life, it doesn't reward effort. It reflects identity. So stay here, in this vibration, in this choice. And watch as the universe stops making you wait. and starts meeting you where you already are.